Hi guys, I hope you are doing well. In this session, we'll learn or explore how we can use the Python list slicing. To watch this session, I'll recommend to watch the previous session so that you can easily understand this session, right? So let me go to the Jupyter notebook. So guys, what is the slicing? So data slicing is nothing. It is a process or way to accessing a part of the data, or you can say that to accessing the subset of the data. Okay. So first of all, I am taking a list of some numbers. Let's say list of numbers and some random number I am going to mention here. So for example, here this is my the list of numbers. If I am talking about the syntax of list slicing, so one important thing you need to remember, if I am talking about the list index, right? So the list index in Python by default start from 0. Okay. I'm going to mention here, let's say note list index begins from 0 by default. Okay. So if I'm talking about, let's say, syntax of list slicing, for an example, here you need to mention your list of numbers, list of numbers. And first you need to mention your starting position, then your stop position, and how many steps you want. So this is the basic syntax. So here, if I am talking about, let's say, what is the starting position? So starting position here, default is 0 because our Python index will be start from 0, right? So end position, which is stop, list or the index of last element in the list. Okay. So what is the default value? So its default value is length of your entire list minus 1. Okay. Now if I'm talking about the step, what does the step? So by default, step size is 1. So these things you need to remember. Okay. So let's say if I'm using here, let's say LST of numbers, if I mention here the 0, it means I am accessing the first element of the list. So how many element I have in my list? So you can count using the length. Okay, so if I'm talking about the index, so index will be start from 0 and whatever the size of your list minus 1. Okay, so guys, you need to also understand there are two types of indexes into the Python list. So here first is positive index and negative index. Okay, so you can see the first example. So I mentioned some heterogeneous of the list, and here I mentioned some integers, some floats, and some string. So if I'm talking about the positive index, so positive index will start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Okay, so and now in the below example, if I'm talking about the negative index, so minus 0 is nothing in a mathematics. So that's why our index will start from minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, and so on. Okay, so same example, same these value I am taking here. So let's say I am taking element 34, or let me do one thing. So what you can do, so here I'm going to click markdown, this one. Okay, now I am taking the element which is 34, 48, and here the green and 45.46. You can take anything, right? Swift, and here the machine learning and AI. So this is my list, right? If I want to access the first element, simple, I can access element and I can mention the 0 to access the first element. So fine. if I want to the access the third element, third means third index. So 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So simple, I can mention here the 3. So I can easily access this one because 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So here you need to understand. So let's say element, if I mention here the colon and 5, what it means. So I was saying your starting position is by default is 0. So my list will be traversed from 0 to 5. Remember one thing here. Last element will be exclusive. So here my list will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so here 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The fifth element will be exclusive here. Okay, so whatever the size you are mentioned, -1. You can read this one. So whatever the size you are mentioned here, let's say this is your stop size, right? So here the index of the last element in the list. So it's default values, whatever the length of list, -1. So here the last element is 5, so we need to use -1. So you can see that 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so there are 5 elements in my list. Fine. And the same, if I mention here the element 0, 4, what will happen? This 4 will be exclusive. Okay, so I'm going to mention here 4 will be excluded. So answer will be this one, first 4 element. Okay, guys. In case, let's say if I mention here the element only the column, what it means. So by default here, this is your starting position and end position. So it will give me the entire list. Okay. In case, let's say if I mention here the element 5 and 2, what it means. I was saying this represent, it means before colon, right? Before colon, it is your starting position, and after calling it is your end position. But here the situation is little bit different. Your starting position, it means your starting position, because I haven't mentioned anything here. So it means the starting position is 0, and what is the my last position is 5, and what is the step size is 2. Okay, so for an example, this is my the entire list. I'm going to start from 0, and how many element I want? Up to 5. So let's say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because this 5 will be exclusive, so my the list will be traversed on 34, 48, green, 45.46, and swift. But here I mentioned the step size is 2. It means 34, then green, and swift. Okay, I hope you understand. Okay, I'm going to explain once again here. So this is my starting position. So I haven't mentioned anything. So by default, it will be start from 0. The end size of the list is 5. That will be exclusive. So list that will give me the 4 element, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, if you count below 0, so it will give me, let's say, 5 elements. Okay, so you can see that for an example, you can see here it is giving me the 5 element, but I mentioned the step is 2. So it means the 34 is here, then after that green, and then swift. Okay, now if I'm giving you another example, let's say I am taking the element which is 1. What it means? It means the start position is 1. What is my end position is? Because I haven't mentioned anything, it means last size of list. Okay, and the step size is 2. Step size is 2. It means the list is starting from here, the 48, then this value, then ML. Okay. And in case if I am writing here the element here, colon 1, okay, colon 1, it means starting position then end position, but step size is 1. So it will give me the entire list. Okay, so you can play with these type of property. Element, once again, if I am using here the -5, colon -1, what it means? I am saying, let's say, before you need to understand this one. Element, if I'm using the -5, so it is giving me this one, only the green. You can see that, only the green. But if I mention -5 and colon, okay, so it will goes to the last element of the list, which is AI. This one. Now I am saying you need to use the step sizes -1. Okay, -1. See what will happen. It is giving me, which is 34, 48, and green. Why? Okay. Now here you need to understand, let's say element which is -5 was this one, green. Okay, so when you are using the -5, okay, plus -1, so it will give you -6. What will be the element of the -6? Which is 48. Then once again you will step which is -1, once again you will have -7. It means 34. So entire value of that particular cell which is green, 48 and 34. Green, 48 and 34. Okay. And the same thing if I mention here the element which is -5, -2. It means I will get only the green and 34 because I will skip the next element. That's because I mentioned the step size which is 2. By default, this step size is 1. Okay. Okay. So let me give you another example. For an example, let's say if my element is on 0 is this one. I am changing the element using the Python. If I print my element, so it is giving me this one. Okay. So guys, let's say if I'm using element 0 colon 2, so it is giving me this one. If I mention here, let's say DS. Now, anybody can guess what will be the answer? Okay. So you can stop the video and you can give me the answer. What will be the answer here? The original list was this one, but on the first two elements, let's say 0 and 1, because this will be last two will be exclusive. So at the 0 and 1, I mentioned DS. So what will be the output? See. Okay, some people thinking let's say DS will goes to on in place of Python at 48. No, it will pick first element and the second element will goes to in place of 48. Okay. In case let's say element, if I am using here 1 colon 4, it is giving me this one. If I mention here let's say 2 comma 2 comma 2, now what will be the answer? Simple, this one. Okay. In case I want to delete something, so we can use del element -2 and colon element, because -2 is this one, -1 and -2, and up to the last, these two element has gone. Okay. Okay, so this is like basic concept. We can use the slicing concept, but you need to remember one thing. There are two types of index, which is positive index and negative index. And this is the syntax. Starting position, this is top position, and this is step position. So whatever the stop position you are mentioned, that will be exclusive. Okay, it can be 5, so that list will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 will be exclusive. Okay, so let me give you another example. Let's say I am taking a numbers. Okay, here what I'm doing, I mention some random numbers. Some random numbers I am going to mention. 12 and 13, 24. Then after that, I'm going to mention this one. For example, this is my the list, right? So the question is, how can I access the element 34 and 45? Okay. And how and by using how many ways I can access the 34 and 45? So first of all, how many elements I have? So simple, we can count using the numbers. It means I have two elements, 0 and 1. Okay. If I mention here the numbers of 0, it is giving me this one. It is giving me this one. Okay. Now I am changing the question. I want the element which is this one, 13 and 24. Okay. So simple, I can mention here the numbers which is 0. It is giving me this one. So how many element? 0, 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to here to mention the 1. After that, what I want only the two element, which is 13 and 24. Simple, I can mention here one column. That is fine. Okay. So because after the 1, I am accessing all the elements. By the another way, let's say numbers 0, it is giving me this one. Now I am using the negative indexing, -1, -2, and this is the entire list, -3, -3. Okay, then once again I can use here, right? There are so many ways, and if I want, then I can use here the -2. Okay, because -2, right? Because this one, -1 and -2, and I am accessing all the element because this is the end position of your list. If I am accessing, let's say numbers, if I'm accessing here, so guys, the question is, how can I reverse this string? For example, let's say this is the numbers, or let's say it could be string as well. Let's say in element, this one. So how can I reverse my string? Okay, so what I'm doing, let's say, first of all, I'm taking this one, copy. And here, I'm going to tell you, this is the list. Okay, the question is, how can I reverse my entire list? Simple, element, colon, colon, and -1. Once again, this is my the starting position and position, and I am going to start from minus. Step will be -1, -2, -3, and so on. So it means my list will be reverse. You can see that, right? The same concept I will apply here. Numbers -1. Okay. So I was asking, how can I access the 13 and 24? So once again, if I'm using here the 1, once again 1, and here I can mention 1 column. Okay, there are so many way, right? There are so many way we can access the same element, but just depend upon how you can apply your brain. Okay, another way, just like let's say this one, and here -1, I can use this one. Once again -1. Let's say -3, right? -3. And here I can use -2. Okay, so there are so many way to access the element from the list. So guys, once again, I am going to summarize. In this session, we have seen how we can create a list and how we can accessing the element or accessing the some portion of the element using the slicing concept. Okay. So guys, this is all about of the slicing concept in the Python list, or the same concept will work on the Python string. So guys, slicing is a very elegant features to access some specific or portion of the data. Sometimes we want to perform some task on the large data set. So in short, we can access the smaller data using data slicing concept for the efficient processing. Okay. So guys, practice of this session 4 to 5 times. In case you have any question or anything coming in your mind, you can ping me on the comments. Okay. Also, you for and to practice of this session, you can take another list of the numbers with some string and try slicing concept on it. Okay. Or you can explore by yourself after watching this session. In the next session, I will give you some exercise based on list data structure. So guys, thanks for watching. Keep learning and have a great day.